The next part is displaying that item to the cart. Now, after we have added that item on the cart, then what next? The question is what next? How are we going to display? How are you going to show those added items to the cart? That's what we're going to do over here. We're going to create this cart.html to show those added items in this cart. So to do that, the first thing you're going to do is create. You're going to create a HTML called cart.html. So to do that, simply let's go to our HTML, to our, no, rather to our editor, and then on template, I use template. On templates, go to our app shoes, create a new HTML called cart.html. Then from the source code I sent you, that is the template, locate the cart.html, just drag and drop, copy this code, and then paste on the cart.html, this cart. Then just change the fields to include the base.html, like the way I showed you before. To do that, let me just, yeah, to do that, just search for main, like that, main. Then in this case, let me show you with this. Search for main, then delete the header, delete this header, and also delete the footer. Let me just close this. Delete the header and also delete the footer. Then make sure that the main class is on block content. Here we have block content and block content, like here. It should be like this. Block content and block content. Then the main class should be between this block content. Then you remember to extend the base.html, and then you also remember to load static. It's that easy. And then after doing that, remember to also convert, or to also make sure that the images have static tags loaded. To do that, it's simple. The way I shown you, Control Shift P to load auto Django. This auto Django will convert those static to static tags very easily. If you don't have auto Django, just install it on extensions. Go to extensions, 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 search for auto Django. You will find it. This auto Django. It's written by code solving. It's very easy to install. Then after that, after you've done that, I think that will be pretty simple. Then after you have done that, the next thing is let's go. You go to your view. On the view, this is where now we are writing the cart view functionality to display those added products to the cart. We want to show them. We want to show those products that we want to show those products that we just added. We want to display them on this page we just created, cart.html. So to do this, start by writing a function, define cart view, then pass request. And also, like I said before, this code is attached. I attached this code. You can find this code of the link below. If you don't want to kind of write this manual, you can just copy and paste this part of the code. But if I can explain it well, I think I just explain it. The first thing is you create a view called cart view. It's really easy to do that. You create cart view, then request. Then the first field we're creating is cart total amount. This cart total amount, this variable, this one will hold the total cost of all the items in the cart. Then we're also creating a cart data. This one will retrieve. Now this one now retrieves it uses the cart data from the session. If no cart data exists, then we want to set it to default. The default we want to set it to an empty string if we don't have any cart data existing. We're also creating another variable cart items. Now this one will store the formatted cart items for easy rendering in the template. We are going to use this. I'm going to show you how to use this later. Then now this next part it's process each item cart, each cart item So here what we're doing is we looping through. So we loop through each item in the cart, and then we clean the price to ensure that it's a proper numerical format. And then we also calculate the subtotal. We're saying subtotal is equals to quantity times the price. Uh, After you calculate the subtotal, you also add the subtotal to the cart amount. Cart total amount is equals to subtotal plus subtotal. And then, like I said, this cart item dot append. This cart item initially we set it to an empty list. So this empty list we append in these fields. That's the ID, the title, the quantity, the price, the image, the PID, the subtotal, and then we getting this from the item from this cart data, the one that we're getting it from here. And then after that, we rendering our HTML, that is return render request shoes slash cat dot html. This cart we just created over here. And then after that, after we render the HTML, in addition to that, you're also saying that we want to pass cart data, no, rather cart items, and then the total number of items. You can see total cart items, the length, the total number of items, and the total cart amount, that is cart total amount, to the cart.html template for rendering. It's like that, quite easy. Also something else, since we created a cart view and also you're rendering a cart.html, we need a URL. So to do that, just go to URLs, ensure that you have a cart page URL. So the way I created this is just simply path cart slash, I wanted to the path to be cart, like this, cart, and then we're saying views.cart view. We want to get that cart view, and then you're also setting the name to cart. It's that simple. And also I hope this was very clear. It's very simple to write this cart view. Then after that, then after this is complete, and also you have make sure that you have this URL. I hope you wrote this. I hope I'm not that fast. You can just pause. If you think I'm going fast, you can just pause it and then just write the part you want to write. If you don't want to write it manually, then just find the code below. The code is below. And then after you've done with this, then let's go back to our cart.html, the one that's displaying the cart items. So now after you did what I shown you over here, just scroll down to the place whereby you have the items. This T body. Let me just show you from an empty, from an unmodified cart. I'm sure your code looks like this. Here on main, so just go to T body, this T body. Then if you look at your cart, there are several products on that cart, but we don't want to get them manually. Rather, we want to create a loop, a for loop, to get any cart that enters the cart view. So just corrupt this like this. We only want one, so just like, for example, this just corrupts it like that. And then this other one like this, and also this other one like this. No, rather like this. So just delete these three and only remain with one. Delete it like that and only remain with this one. This with a class of pt30. Then after that, write this for loop. Say for item in cart data, for item in cart data, for that one item in that cart data. And also remember to close the for loop like this, and for item in cart data, then close the for loop, and for that one item in that cart data, we want to get all those items. So if we have like 10, we have those 10 items. Let me just go back to this because I'm not using this. I hope that part is clear. The rest part of the code remains the same for now. So let's deal with this part. I hope that's clear. So the first thing we're saying is we're providing an ID, product item.id. We want to get the ID of that product. And then these other parts are very simple. What we are doing is we are displaying the image of that item. Yeah, we said for item, so it's item.image. This image, it's this image you got over here. This image, we getting the image from the cart data. So you have item.image. Also remember to have this item ID. That item ID, this ID, it's a representation of it. Item.id. We're also getting a URL of that item. Also getting that. We also providing the URL of that item. We also providing an ID. If we click on that item, we'll be redirected on that item. I'm also providing the title of that item. Then here we are displaying the price. Then I'm providing an extra value. I'm saying float format 2. This means the decimal places should be 2. And then I'm also providing the quantity. The data title is stock. The most important part here is this input type. This input type is the most important part. Input type, make sure that it's a number. You can have a placeholder if you want to. Then on class, make sure you include this part of the class. Product quantity slash, make sure you include item ID because we want to get the quantity of this item ID. And then the value is the quantity. So it's item.quantity, this quantity. If the quantity is not, and then we're providing a minimum value, there should be 1. If you go below 1, you probably get an error. This is the most important part in this item part. Make sure you have this value and also make sure that on class, we have this item.id. This reason being with this is it will come in hand, it will come handy when we are writing the delete and update functions of this cart. Then here subtotal, remember we define the subtotal. This subtotal, we're saying item.subtotal. The same thing with float format is equals to 2. Then the rest of them, it's the update and delete. We are going to deal with this later. We are going to do this on the next tutorial. But if you want to write them, make sure that if you want to write them at the moment, make sure that they appear the way it's appearing over here. Data title refresh, and also this data title should be removed. On this update, the most important part is this update product, and also this data product item.id. The same thing with this delete button. It's most important part class. It's the delete product, and also the data product item.id. I'm going to deal with this on the next tutorial, so no need to worry about it. And then, like you said, we end our loop. Now, the next thing we are going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate of this cat.html. So to do that, on your on our templates shoes, create another folder called asynchronize. This asynchronize, like the way I've done it, ASYNC. It's not a must it has the same folder name, but for the sake of this tutorial, make sure that it has the same folder name. Also create another file called cat list. This cat list, and then just copy this code. This code we have written over here. Just copy all of it. Control A, Control C, and then copy all this code to this cat list. Just paste it over here. There's no need to worry about this code for the moment, but the reason why I'm saying this is so that I don't forget the next tutorial. We are going to deal with this cat list when we are dealing with update and delete the product. That's because like when we delete that product, we want the page to refresh, and when it refresh, we want it to refresh to a certain page, and the page you wanted to refresh to, it's this cat list. And the reason why we are copy pasting the code is we wanted to refresh to the same type of code that we wrote before on the card. So it's very simple on that. I hope that is clear. I hope nothing is unclear. So as a recap on T-body, on this one product, this class PT30, just write a loop, a for loop. You're saying for item in cart data. This loop is going to iterate through each item in the cart data passed from the view. And then also make sure you pass this ID product underscore item.id. Then the only thing here you're getting is we're getting the image, you're also getting the title. And then on this title, when we click on the title, we want to be redirected to like the details of this product. We created this area, I hope you remember. You're also getting the price with two decimal places, and also you're also getting the quantity. We are passing the value item.quantity, and also remember on the class you have this class, or at least on your class, the one that you have this product quantity item.id. You're also getting the subtotal. These two are not important for now. I'm going to explain them later, but all those fields should be the way I've defined them over there. Then on views, like I said before, we're setting the cart total amount to 0 because you haven't calculated it. If it's not there, it should be 0 by default. Then we get in all the item on the cart data object. Then we storing those items on cart data, and also defining a cart item. We're setting it to empty to begin with, so that when we add an item in the cart, these items they will be appended on cart item. And then we're creating a for loop. We're saying for item ID, this item ID we provided over here, item in cart data, that one item that we are getting in this cart data dot items, all those items on the cart data. First thing we're making sure is we're setting the price to a string, and then we're cleaning it. So I'm saying price string is equals to the string of item is a string, the item, this one item, we getting the price, and then we're replacing the unwanted values like this dollar sign with an empty string. And we're also replacing anything like a comma with also an empty string. And then we're getting the quantity. To get the quantity, we're saying item, get the quantity. Price, float, price string, this price that we got over here. We're getting the price as a string, and it should also be in a float format. Then subtotal, the subtotal is equals to the quantity times the price. And then we're setting the cart total amount. The cart total amount should be this subtotal plus subtotal, if there's one. No, the cart total amount should be subtotal plus cart total amount, in which cart total amount initially we set it to 0. So it will be subtotal at the end of the day. And then these are the items that we are padding on the cart item. We are padding the ID, the title, the quantity, the price, the image, the PAD, and the subtotal of this item. And then we're rendering this is HTML, very simple, shoes slash cat.html. And then when we are rendering it, we are telling Django that we also want to pass the cart data, the total items and the cart total amount on our cart.html. It's that simple. Then the other thing, remember to create another folder called asynchronous, or you can call it the way you want, and then create another file called cart list. Then copy paste all you did here to cart list. This reason being that when we are dealing with update and delete functions, when we delete an item, we want it to refresh, and when it's refreshing, okay, the thing I identified is if it just refresh on the same page, it's causing an error, or it's just loading so much. I don't want it, so I wanted to refresh to this page called cart list. Also, you also don't need to add a URL for this because we are going to use render to string. I'm going to show you on the next tutorial. So I hope that is clear. So after this has been done, on your end, you should have something like this. Let me show you. Initially, without the item, it should look like this. That is this extended based on HTML, that one, and this other at the bottom. Now when I add an item, let me just refresh this. When I add like this item, add to cart, the item has been added to the cart. When I go to the cart and I refresh, you see this item has been added to the cart. We get in the image, we get in the title, we get in the unit price, we also get in the quantity. The subtotal is the unit price times quantity, it's 180. Also, we also display the subtotal over here and also the total over here. So next tutorial, you're going to deal with delete and update. I think you're going to start with delete. When I delete this item from the cart, let's say delete like that, you see it refreshes and then it returns the same page. That's why you have that cart list. That's what we're going to deal with next. So I hope that is clear, and see you in the next tutorial.